Good evening, Cape Conference family. I trust that you've been having a good day and that you enjoyed your day, and that wherever you were, school, at work, at home, and that we are grateful that the Lord has preserved your life, and you are able to join us for this the very first for the year. Sissimi Know Your Church segment of our program. Remember, as we have said ever since we started earlier on this week, what's going to be happening from now on Mondays, as you saw day before yesterday, we will be having our weekly installations of the Sabbath School lesson, as we used to call it, the Adult Bible Study Guide. And so please go to our YouTube page, go to our Facebook page, and then also speak to your pastor, because they also have the audio of the Adult Bible Study Guide that was done by our facilitators for this term. And so you can expect that every week on Mondays, same time, 7 o'clock in the evening. And on Wednesdays, you can also expect what we are having now in its different variations. And 1 week we will be having a segment where we want you to know more about this home, your spiritual home, your church, this global movement called the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And then some other weeks we will be inviting personalities within the church. By that I mean those that are working within the church, and then of course those that are working in different parts of their works. It could be they are running their company, they are teachers, they are parents, and we're going to talk to them about how this hope of the second coming is integrated in their daily happenings wherever they are. And so we'll have different variations. But today, when we are starting, I could not think of a better person to start with than the executive secretary of the Cape Conference, our Cape Conference Beloved Conference, and that is none other than Pastor Arnold Alexander, and he's joining us right now. And there he is, ever smiling, my good friend Mfundisi. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Pastor Kotela. Thank you for this awesome privilege of connecting with our constituency and the broader world, as it were. This digital platform reaches beyond our Cape Conference, but it's great to be here and to I almost said this maiden presentation of the Cape Conference. I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome for this. And of course, one of the things that we want to do, and especially in this segment, which is going to be happening once a month on these Wednesdays, and as we are going to be having different ones each Wednesday, but we want to introduce our constituency, our members to their church, and even our children, so they know that church is more than what happens on Sabbath school, Sabbath afternoon, and that this is an organization. There is the spiritual side, and the church as in like the corporate worship side of the organization, but there's also the corporate side of the organization, or whatever you want to call, maybe the administrative side of the organization. And we also want to introduce that as well. And it is why we thought that when we are starting these conversations, there is no better person to invite than the one who is carrying the responsibility of leading Secretariat at the Cape Conference. And so I truly appreciate you taking the time. I know the demands of meetings and that it has on your time. And so for you to put aside an hour to have this conversation is not something that I take lightly, nor the membership takes lightly. But before we go into the nitty-gritties, about Secretariat, what it's about. Let us firstly get to know who I am talking to. Pastor Arnold Alexander. Of course, you have not always been a pastor, and that's not the only leadership role that even now you are leading. Let's start at home. I know that you are a husband. I know that you are a father. And I know that as recent as last year, you became a grandfather for the first time. And please do reflect on those home and family responsibilities as a leader.
Yes, Pastor Kotela, thank you very much. I'm happy to say that, ministry for me has really been a very easy transition to where I come from, because I have the support of my family. And if I may just reflect on my call to ministry, would that be in order?
Yes.
As I transition from family.
Sure.
So yes, my wife Heather, and my daughter Lazelle and her husband, they've been married since 2019, and Levi is their son, our grandson, and we're just happy to have him in the family. It takes a bit of getting used to, because not only for us but for him too. He spent 9 months in an environment, and now he's in a different environment, and
Sure.
This environment that he finds himself in will shape him forever.
Yeah.
And so, it's an awesome privilege as grandparents and parents that we've been granted by God to shape this little mind to be a God-fearing person. So that's my family. I also come from my immediate family. I also come from a family where we are, I must now think about this, the number of siblings. We are 6.
Sure.
We are 6 siblings. One passed away tragically in 2016, my final year at Heidelberg College. And I'm the eldest of the 6 siblings. All of them live in Gauteng.
Sure.
There is Sam Jr. and Shanae. There's Thielen and Neil, my brother, and yeah. So that's us, and Evelyn as well. Evelyn is a daughter that came into the family through adoption.
Sure.
So that's our family. That's our family. Then my mom and my dad. My mom Elizabeth, she's still alive. Thank God for her. I think she turned 87 this year.
Oh wow.
87 or 86, I'm not sure.
Sure.
One of the two.
Sure.
My dad just turned 81. So we're grateful to have parents from the paternal side, from Heather's side. We don't have her parents both passed away, and so my paternal grandmother was instrumental, if I may transition.
Sure.
Was instrumental in bringing her whole family, literally or almost or virtually her whole family, into the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Not a very literate person, but a very devoted person. Also in the community, she was the go-to person when there was a prayer over someone who was necessary, over someone who was ill. They would call Auntie Gatti. And she would pray over that person, and she had a very powerful prayer ministry. And so I guess I sit here today because God moved on her heart to accept the Adventist message and she's not only been instrumental in bringing her whole family, or literally a whole family, into the church, but also many other people have accepted the message and follow Christ because of her ministry. So you ask for an influence. There's a great influence on where I am today as a pastor. Another influence that I just found out recently is I was named after a pastor.
Oh, and you just found out
and that pastor coincidentally is related to my wife. We didn't know it at the time because I didn't know who I would marry. So the pastor that I was named after, Pastor Arnold Grove, the late Pastor Arnold Grove, was my wife's uncle.
Wow, I think God has a sense
of the anointing, albeit that my life took on different nuances and twists and turns. The anointing was always on my life.
Sure. Okay, all right. Now tell me, because I very soon I will want us to briefly talk on the story of your call. You transitioning to be a pastor, and but before we do that, because currently, and we're going to end with that, you are serving as the executive secretary of the Cape Conference, and before then, I know that you were pastoring in Cape Town, and one of your churches was Langa, if I remember well. And then, but before you became a pastor, you and I, we met at Helderbeck and at the seminary. What was your leadership involvement at your local church before you became, or you answered the call to ministry?
Thanks for the question. I served various departments in the church. One which I'm very passionate about, and that is the music ministry. I served in the music ministry for a number of years, and it was really a blessing. In fact, I recently watched a program. Someone reflected on how I dealt with music ministry and hymns, singing of hymns in particular, and that was a great blessing as the person affirmed me. So I was involved with the music ministry. I was involved with youth ministry at the local church, at Retreat Church to be specific. Youth ministry, and we had a wonderful group of to come across our path. Heather and I, we led the youth ministries, and it's really so pleasing and satisfying to hear the youth and to see how most of them have excelled in life. We recently just counseled such a youth and gave him marriage counseling, him and his now wife. And so we served in youth, and it was really so enriching to serve in the youth ministry. I also served in the Sabbath school as the coordinating Sabbath school superintendent, and then just before I came to college, I served as one of the elders at the church, and that was a sobering and also an enriching experience. So it's really God has blessed me there.
Sure.
In ministry at the local church, and He will use me. And I believe that experience that I gained there is invaluable to where I am now.
Sure. And I'm glad you're saying, because I was going to ask that. And how do you relate to that information? And one of the reasons, of course, I'm raising this question and asking you to reflect on your involvement, and is to is to hopefully for somebody, young person, whoever is watching, they get to also appreciate that you don't necessarily need to be, there are many other different and various leadership roles that one can get involved in outside of being a pastor. And all of them are important and are needed and are crucial to the survival of the mission. And yeah, and thank you for reflecting on that. And now from this, now we have to now. So there you are in the corporate world, working and very involved in mission at the local church level. And as we would say in my language, jiggy jiggy. I meet you at Heidelberg College. Talk to me about that transition, the story of your call. How does that happen?
I still get goosebumps when I think about it. As I mentioned to you, and I think it was an important preamble, and that is that I was named after a pastor.
Sure.
And so my prayer would be on most Sabbaths, round about divine service time, Lord, what is your purpose for my life? What is it that you want me to do? And as I also mentioned, my life took on different twists and turns, and some of them were away from God. And so in 2010, I was in a situation where I was far from God, and God miraculously, I had my own Damascus Road experience in the form of a motor vehicle accident. And at that time, I committed to God, and I said, God, I believe that you are speaking to me harshly through my choices, and I'm committing my life to you, and I've not looked back since then. And so this was in 2010.
Sure.
In 2012, my boss came down and she said, "Man, your job is redundant." I worked at Liberty Life for over 30 years. Your job is redundant, and you know, we will have to go through the whole process, applying for another position, redeploying, reskilling, and then ultimately retrenchment.
Sure.
And then I said to her, you know what? I'm not going through the process that you just described. And she said, why not? I said, I believe that God is answering my prayer to go into ministry. Long story short, she said, well, in that case, I will retrench you.
Sure.
So I had the benefit of a retrenchment package, because I believe that's how God works. That's how He works, you know. But I had to take the step in faith.
Sure. Sure.
I had to do that, and so as she retrenched me, and I can almost say the rest is history, because I used that retrenchment benefit to accomplish God's purpose for my life. I went to Heidelberg College, and I must say, and my experience has been a faithful God, and it reminds me of the song, "It is no secret what God can do."
Yeah.
Well, as my dad would say, it is a secret what God will do, because what is done for you, He only does for you.
I love that. Sure. Yeah.
And so, you know, God came just miraculously, just quickly. So at the end of 2013, my first year at Heidelberg College, I ran out of money.
Sure.
I went to the receiver of revenue and I said to them, "Man, I need money. I need to register." And they said, "Man, this is not a bank." But the lady was busy with my tax return, and while she was busy there, there was a beep on my phone, and when I opened, it was a message from SARS. due to you sufficient for 1 year.
Come on, man. Come on.
End of 2014, same story.
Come on, man.
Ran out of money. And then the company that I worked for, Liberty Life, had issued a share option to its staff way back in 1988. And at the beginning of 2015, yes, 2015, sure, that share scheme matured. And it was sufficient to carry me through the rest of my college years. I left college debt-free. I did not owe the college money. And it is because it's because it's a secret what God can do.
Sure. Sure.
And that inspires me to this day. And when I feel discouraged, I just remember what God has done for me and my family.
Sure.
And so I so that prayer on a Sabbath morning around divine service, God answered through my boss, through SARS, through the company that I work for, because he had already provided for me and was just waiting for me to make the decision to go into ministry.
Absolutely love that. And of course, so aren't we grateful for that provision, because we have also benefited. I know we work very closely together, and our first interaction, of course, was at college. Yes. Helderberg, and I've always been very kind to you. I think you would attest to that. I'm kidding. And and then the last thing. So I mean, you've been a leader at work, at home, at church, reflecting from your experiences. Personal experience. What do you know? I'm going to ask you last three questions on leadership. I want you to think about, number one, your philosophy of leadership. Now, reflecting on your experience of leading at home, leading at work, leading in the church. What do you know about leadership? What do you believe about leadership? What's your understanding and philosophy of leadership?
Well, I often say, if I had the opportunity to go back to Liberty Life, where I spent over 30 years, I would be a better leader because of where I've been subsequently. So my leadership style is authoritative.
Sure.
I believe in working together, achieving goals with people.
Sure.
I believe in people, and I believe that they must be allowed to express themselves openly.
Sure.
I believe in creating safe spaces for people in my team, and so having an authoritative leadership style, I involve people. I always ask questions. What do you think? Because we need to accomplish goals together.
Sure.
One of the things that I pray about regularly is for humility, because I believe that a leader must be humble. Humble to the point where I don't know it all, and some of the things you know better than I do, and so I must be humble enough to say, how can you help me?
Sure.
So there's humility. There's also compassion. I believe that leadership is also about being compassionate, and it's something that I believe God has gifted me in my latter years, because for one reason, I have learned how to forgive.
Sure.
So therefore, it helps me to be more compassionate. Understanding the needs of people and doing something about it.
Sure.
And also walking in people's shoes. That for me is important. I also believe that I am accountable.
Sure.
I don't make excuses for mistakes that are made. I embrace mistakes and I accept them, and I don't move on. I change them. Whatever needs to be changed, I change, and I believe that I'm responsible, because that's what God expects of us. So that, in a nutshell, is who I am in terms of leadership. I believe in teamwork. I believe in accountability. I believe in humility. I believe in compassion. I believe in being responsible as leaders, as a leader. So I hope that answers your question.
Sure. I have the unique advantage of having experienced what you are talking about, because I work very closely with you, for those of us that are watching, and of course we're going to talk about that later. Communication department, which I am leading, is also falls under the Secretariat department. So we get to interact, we get to work together.
Can I just add something? Can I just add something? I want to just this is a can I call it a shout out to the union, who recently took us on a leadership workshop as recent as a week and a half ago, and the facilitator, Max Moyo, very powerfully helped us to understand what leadership is, and the title or his 2-day workshop was entitled Leadership Pain. He wrote a book, The Leadership Call, and I was pleased when I read. I've just read the first chapter now, and what I've shared with you is also articulated in that chapter, and it resonates with me because I believe it describes me.
Sure, I'm with you. I can testify. I can testify. Now, tell me. I mean, as Africans, this is very important. The idea of there's no self-made man, there's no self-made success, and of course, one of the problems with self-made people is that they tend to worship the maker, and I know you got that. Now, we believe that it takes the village to raise a child, and that is no exception to leadership as well. Who are the people that you've learned a lot from as a leader, that have influenced you as a leader? Yeah.
So I've already shared one person who has influenced my life profoundly, and that's my grandmother, my paternal grandmother. And the second person I would have to say influenced my leadership is my dad. My dad, has been in business for many years. In fact, my first job that he gave me my first job, and I stayed there for over 30 years. So he's influenced my thinking around leadership. And then from a pastoral point of view, there was a pastor, Pastor Ian Hartley, related to he's an uncle of Debbie Sturley. And he was our pastor when we were at Santon Church in the early days of Santon Church, where he was being radical in how church is done. And there there were two services back in the mid 90s, two services already, and one a little bit conservative and the other less conservative. And the one thing that was very profound for me, and to this day I embrace it, and he taught me how to affirm people. And we would get into a meeting environment, and he would say, affirm the person on your right. And we would sit in a circle.
Sure.
In a meeting, we would sit in a circle, so you don't know who you're going to sit next to. And you had to affirm that person. And that taught me another thing, is to pay attention, look at what people are doing in the church, just in case you have to affirm them when you sit next to them.
Sure.
So Pastor Ian Hartley, there are many other people, but those really come to mind. My grandmother, my dad, from a leadership point of view, and from a spiritual leader point of view, Pastor Ian Hartley. Those were the three people who had a very profound impact on my life and ministry.
Sure. Thank you for this. One last question before we transition now into the rest of the conversation on Secretariat and the conference going forward. We've got people that are watching, members that are leading at school, at church, at work, and especially those that are leading at church. You already spoken about a book that you are currently reading by Max Moore. But what is the one book and the outside the Bible, the one book that just comes to mind, that you feel, I think I almost know what you're going to say, having been interacting with you, that you feel should be in the library of every leader, especially Christian leader, that you would recommend?
These two books I encountered, both of us encountered when we were at Heidelberg College.
Sure.
The one is both were used as textbooks for spiritual leadership.
Sure.
The one is A Work of Heart by Reggie McNeil. The other is Spiritual Leadership by Blackaby and Blackaby. And that book, Spiritual Leadership, in fact, both books are very, very precious to me.
Sure.
The one, Work of Heart, talks about how important it is to declutter before you go into ministry. Declutter.
Sure.
And one that and Reggie McNeil says, your family of origin has a profound impact on your existence.
Sure.
Before you can think or speak without your permission.
Sure.
And so go back. He recommends go back. If you want to declutter, go back to the family of origin. Understand why it is you behave the way you do, and whether it is a physical journey or a journey just in your mind. Go back, and he says when you return on your return from that journey, you will begin to heal and begin to declutter. Blackaby and Blackaby speaks about spiritual leadership, and they say that leadership is about influence.
Sure.
But influence transitioning from God's agenda. And one of the things that really strike me is that when you have led as a spiritual leader, because people are important, when you have led, they are better because you have led.
I love that. Sure. I love that.
Because your transitioning is from God's agenda
From God's agenda. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely love that. Thank you for this. Okay. I feel and I hope that even our members, our viewers, and those that are listening later on to this conversation will feel that they know you better because of this conversation, and that they can relate even better with you and understand some of the decisions you take, and because they now know you better. All right. Now we transition into the rest of the conversation. Secretariat, and globally, and maybe let me just allow you to share with us the and then of course later on we are going to be talking about the Cape Conference, and we're going to end on that, the rest of the conversation. But Secretariat as a department, where does it feature in the Seventh-day Adventist Church? What is it? What does it do? Why is it?
Well,
many questions,
when I accepted the call to serve as the executive secretary, I did not know what I was letting myself into. And people often ask me, so how's it going? And I would say every day is a learning day.
Sure.
So Secretariat is the engine room
I like that.
of the conference.
Sure.
It is where these 5 things happen. So while treasury is important because we need funds to keep the conference going, Secretariat keeps the conference going.
Sure.
And there are 5 areas that are important, and those 5 areas are mission, missionaries, membership, memory, management.
Let's say it again. Mission,
missionaries,
membership,
memory,
and
management.
Okay. 5 M's.
5 M's.
Sure.
So when we report from a Secretariat point of view at the next session, remember these 5 M's, because this is where we will. This will be our focus. So when we and there's one thing that I have to give you credit for, Pastor Kotela, and that is for reminding me and helping me to keep mission center of everything that we do, because that's why we exist.
Sure.
We exist for mission.
Sure.
And I just wish that at the local church we can change and really be mission focused, so that we accomplish what God has set out for us to accomplish, to be mission minded. And if you look at how the church functions, everything revolves around mission.
Definitely.
And so so from a mission point of view, we have our focus area is unreached areas and people groups, and underreached areas and people groups. Unreached means there is no Seventh-day Adventist presence there. Underreached means that there is not sufficient presence of a people group to function on its own.
Sure.
So as far as mission is concerned, that's our focus. That's our focus, and we need to go out and identify the unreached areas. How do we do that? When at the moment we have just of our 620 churches, we have around about 140 churches that have a geolocation. And so so how do we identify unreached areas? We have to, as far as possible, get as many geolocations registered on Google, for example, so that we know where we are, so that we may identify where we are not.
Sure.
And that's how we identify unreached areas and people groups.
Sure.
Underreached from a mission point of view. So just going back to geolocations, we're going to be driving that this year so that we get more than just 140 geolocations that we currently have on Google Maps of our churches. So we're going to be driving that this year, and then we transition to missionaries.
Sure.
Because having a pastor in a district is not sufficient to reach for a wide reach, and therefore we need missionaries who will be able to help us, to give us more hands to go into these unreached areas and people groups and underreached people groups, and really help us to establish the work there. Now, global mission pioneers, for example, we don't have a global mission pioneer in the conference yet. So in order for us to accomplish the mission of the Cape Conference, is as I said, through mission and identifying those unreached and underreached people groups and areas, and then through funding of global mission pioneers. So those global mission pioneers who make themselves available, and as you know, it's a volunteer. People volunteer to be global mission pioneers, but there will be some funding, and as we identify our unreached areas, we will be able to identify global mission pioneers who will be going into those areas and assisting us with the work in those areas. And I can think about, for example, two underreached people groups in the Cape Conference. The one is we have an Ethiopian church in Cape Town.
Sure. Yeah.
We also have a Rwandan Burundian church in Cape Town, and so those would be considered as underreached people groups. And we need. I went to visit the Rwandan Burundian church, for example, and they said to me, "Man, because we cannot worship in our mother tongue, a lot of our people have left for Pentecostal churches." The Burundian and Rwandan church left to a Pentecostal church, and now we need to work to bring them back, because we now have a church where we can be ministered to in our mother tongue. So from a missionary's point of view, and specifically global mission pioneers, we have to identify those areas and then register global mission pioneers who will be able to assist those people groups in their mother tongue, and so fulfill God's mission through missionaries in the Cape Conference. Now, how do we do that? We have to at XCOM, we have to have an action to identify unreached and underreached people groups, and then work from there. So hopefully early this year, we will be able to accomplish that at an XCOM level in order to get the ball rolling. So I think those people who are inclined to be global mission pioneers, get yourselves ready, because we are going to be driving this very soon, and we are going to be looking for people who would be able to drive the mission and agenda of the Cape Conference. And then the next M is memory. And I'm glad that in your interaction on Friday evening with the writer of this quarter's lesson, she touched on memory.
Sure. Yeah.
And she said that, you know, memory. One of my passions is this. We need to get to the point where we capture our own memory.
Definitely.
Yeah. We must not. No longer must we be satisfied with other people capturing our memory on our behalf. We must capture our own memory. And there are a number of people who have passed away, who have had a profound impact on the work in the Cape Conference. There are institutions that we have not written about to capture the memory of the Cape Conference. To capture the activities rather of those institutions. One such institution is Tantele. We have not captured that, and it has had a profound impact on the church in the Cape Conference. Many leaders went to school there.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased to announce that we have a committee that has been elected to deal with the memory of the Cape Conference and the institutions and people, and also, you know, to be proactive, because this memory is captured, as Dragoslava mentioned. Dr. Dragoslava mentioned, it is captured in the Encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists for our posterity.
Sure.
So I'm looking forward to getting those articles published in the Encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists, ESDA, so that we capture and our own memory and publish it.
Yeah.
So that's the third M.
Yeah.
The next M is membership. We are responsible for managing the membership in the Cape Conference. Now, in the past, we have done things in a certain way, and I think that what we have done has worked to a degree.
Sure.
But now we have to change how we've done it, and we are working on a process to get our data integrity as far as membership is concerned in the Cape Conference up to scratch. Because at the moment, just to give you an example, of the almost 45,000 members we have in the Cape Conference, 50% of those have an incorrect date of birth. Which means that the ACMS system, the system which we manage the membership on, is not as functional as it could be and should be, for that one reason. Because if I, for example, want to extract a report on the age profile of our members in the conference, it would be very difficult.
Sure.
So this year we're driving that, and we're going to fix that up. And as we roll out the training, and the one thing that we need to change is how we train. You know, I don't appreciate the fact that we have all these leaders in one venue on one day, and we bombard them with information.
Sure.
So my thinking is that from a training point of view, in as far as the membership management is concerned, we want to train people, have short training sessions, bite-sized chunks, them able to process what they've been trained, and then go and practice.
Sure.
What they've been trained on, and then next month we'll do the next component, bite-size, process and practice. And I believe we're still doing, by the time we get to the middle of the year or the third quarter, I believe that we would have changed our improved our data integrity on.
I like that. So instead of like once-off hit and run trainings, to have shorter ones but consistent, on a more consistent basis.
That's the idea. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I already mentioned that that we are 45,000 members or thereabout, just short of that. It's around about 44,800. We have 620 churches, including companies and branches. And then I'm also pleased to add that our conference complies in that all our members are on ACMS, the Adventist Church Management Membership Management System. But we, as I mentioned, we need to work on the data integrity.
Sure.
And we with the help of God and commitment, we're going to accomplish it, God willing, this year.
Sure.
Then
Right.
the final M.
Yeah.
The final M is management.
Sure.
And management at a number of levels. Management in terms of meetings, our ADCOM and EXCOM and subcommittee meetings, is the responsibility of Secretariat. Then also the management of people.
Sure.
One of the challenges that I have is that we need to implement a process across the board where we're able to manage what people do, so that we can report to the constituency, give an accurate report of what we actually do. And I'm really looking forward to this year working on a system for performance management, for people management. In other words, have a discussion with staff. What are your aspirations, and have a development plan for each staff member, and hold them accountable to it, encourage them to develop, and then also, as part of management, we need to have more staff engagement, so that safe space that I spoke about earlier, so that we create that safe space, and people are able to articulate and share their views without feeling victimized or without incrimination. So from a management point of view and managing people, we need to have more regular staff engagement.
Sure. Perhaps for this is I know this may be so obvious to some of us, but maybe not so obvious to others. And when you talk about staff, and maybe this is a good time to just quickly share the assumption. It's easy to think that by staff, a church organization like ours, we only have pastors, on the ground. But from what you are saying, you give the impression, and it is true, but I do want to ask to confirm that. But we also have behind the scenes administrative staff and in treasury. I'm sure later on we will speak to to the CFO in the presidency, but let's just limit it now to the Secretariat. What are some of the functionalities or that are happening in Secretariat, different sub departments?
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that question. It's a good question. So within Secretariat, we and maybe let me share, give some names. The person that I'm speaking to is in Secretariat, and you are responsible for the communication of the conference, and that means many things. So the communication department falls under Secretariat. It is not only communication for the conference, but also to try and develop communication as a department at the local church.
Sure.
So communication is definitely part of Secretariat, and then we have my administrative assistant in the department is Renee Hartnick. She's a shepherdess, and really I think that she really makes things happen.
Sure.
From an administrative point of view. It's really, she's an asset to the organization.
Amen.
Then we also have Sabelo Ndlovu. Sabelo is responsible for POPI compliance. And I'm happy to say that the Cape Conference is registered for POPI with the regulator. And we are going to be rolling it out this year very aggressively, so that we can ensure that in all our structures, from the office, from the back office staff, as you put it, we are compliant for POPI, because non-compliance comes at a heavy price.
Sure.
So we are going to roll out compliance in the office. And when I say in the office, I speak broadly about presidential, secretariat, and treasury, and the directors as well, and right down to the local church. We need to make sure that everybody understands what the expectation is in order for us to comply from a POPI point of view. So POPI is basically the Protection of Personal Information Act. And then we have Usis Natiswa, Mrs. Patience Dick, and she's responsible for ACMS and the management thereof. So she registers new church clerks for ACMS. She helps them with the training of ACMS, and then also, in our context as a conference, there are certain areas where technology is just non-existent.
Yeah.
And so from that point of view, she helps to improve the data integrity by sharing or sending out spreadsheets, so that those churches that have a challenge with technology can update the information on the spreadsheets, return it to us, and then we can update it. So I want to come back to you. And that is so part of your task is the management of the email system that we use in the Cape Conference. And that is basically our mode of communication. We communicate only through those designated email addresses. And yes, a vast majority of our churches, for various reasons, are not yet using it, but we are going to be driving it aggressively also to make sure that the majority of our churches use it, and therefore are informed as we communicate to them through this mode of communication.
Sure. And I think it's important that we pause a bit there and reiterate what you've just said. And as a conference, of course, we're going to end with that seeks to be open and transparent and lead an informed membership and constituency. At the heart of that is the ability to consistently, reliably, and being able to communicate. So that is why, as a conference, and I'm sharing this now to those of us that are watching, in the past, we would depend on a local elder who has got a Gmail or Yahoo account, and then but that would compromise data integrity, because next year he's no longer an elder, and all that information is gone with that person, and because they were using their own personal private email account. And so as the conference, we've decided now, for every local church, we have created an email on the official domain of the global church and the subdomain of the Cape Conference, that is cc.com. If you are from Langa Church, there is Langa at cc.adventist.com. If you are from Western Suburbs, church in Gqeberha, Western Suburbs at cc.advent. And it's imperative that we use and adopt that email address, because it allows for you to get information as it comes from the conference. And no other platform is an officially recognized platform by the church. So if you have written to the conference using another email address, chances are that message might be compromised, because we only take official communication using the official email address of the conference. I see you are nodding your hand, Pastor Alexander.
I just want to, I think I didn't put on the power here, so it's just
you didn't
turn on the power.
Okay, no, go ahead and do that, my friend. Are you back?
Yes, I just got a notice to say you are going to be powerless soon. And maybe I'm sorry that I interrupted you there, but I just have you concluded your thought?
Yes, I have. I was just reiterating what you were saying.
Okay, and I think to underscore what we have just spoken about is we want to get to the point, in your words, Pastor Kotela, where we have a world-class secretariat focused on mission. And that's really what we aspire to, what God has called us to, and we've got to make it happen. We can't maintain the status quo. One of the things that Blackaby and Blackaby write, they say that you cannot leave the place in the same way you found it.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that in a bad sense, but I'm just saying that we have to make a difference.
Sure. Absolutely like that. All right. Now let's transition now into the Cape Conference, and that would have been a conversation on Secretariat. I mean, we keep talking about mission. Mission. Is there? Talk to me briefly about the mission and the vision of the Cape Conference in particular, especially in this term. What do we want? What are we busy about?
Maybe I think maybe I would like to just talk about the vision and the mission statement of the Cape Conference, because this must actually underscore every aspect of our work at the corporate level and at the local church level.
Sure.
So our Cape Conference vision statement is a conference unified and compelled by the love of Christ, urgently sharing our faith and hope in his soon coming. So there is mission right there.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Mission right there.
Sure.
Sharing.
Sure.
Our faith and hope in Christ's soon coming. But there is something that bothers me. It says a conference unified. And we are not there yet.
Sure.
But that must be, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. We have to be unified. Unified in what we believe, unified behind Christ, unified in mission, unified in the love of Christ.
Sure.
We have to be unified at those levels, and unified in our thinking of mission.
Sure.
Our approaches may change, and our approaches may be contextual, but it must flow from being a conference unified.
Sure.
Urgently sharing our faith and hope. So that's the vision. The mission statement is making disciples of Jesus Christ who live as his loving witnesses and proclaim to all people in the territory of the Cape Conference the gospel of the three angels' messages. And once again, in preparation for his soon return.
Sure. Now,
so
go ahead.
If I may just add this,
yeah.
I believe that every church board and business meeting must affirm the vision and the mission, so that we don't only see it in reports and we don't only hear it at session.
Sure.
And it really becomes the marching orders for what we do.
Sure.
What we see and what we do.
Sure. And I also want you to reflect on the driving values, and of course, one of the things that you're passionate about, that you talk about, and we cannot end this conversation without reflecting on those P's. Yes. And that people have heard you teach on, speak on whenever you make a public presentation. So please remind us what those are, and we cannot end this conversation without those.
So from when we were at the first EXCOM meeting in 2022, we had agreed on these core values as the Cape Conference.
Sure.
And the core values, the acronym for the core values is CHAIR.
Sure.
CHAIR.
Sure.
And the C stands for courage.
Sure.
And so we courageously engage in the mission of Christ.
Sure.
We courageously talk about things that are not pleasant.
Sure.
And that need correction.
Yeah.
And so while we do that courageously, we also do so honestly.
Sure.
We do so honestly, and we speak out honestly about things that need attention.
Sure.
The A is accountability.
Sure.
So we need to be accountable as leaders in the Cape Conference, accountable in Secretariat, and we can be held accountable.
Sure.
For what God has called us to do.
Sure.
And the one thing that I appreciate about people who are accountable, don't make excuses, and they don't walk away. Why? Because it's not about us.
Sure.
It's about God's work.
Sure.
And so accountable people don't take things personally.
Sure.
Then also there's integrity.
Sure.
There's integrity. That's the I. We do things right because it's the right thing to do.
Sure. Sure.
And then there is also respect.
Respect. Sure.
There is also respect, and those acronyms, those are our core values agreed upon at EXCOM, and we need to, while we are courageous and honest and accountable and have integrity, we have to respect each other, and we have to, that respect is reciprocal.
Sure.
But the one thing that I've realized is, when I respect myself, others will respect me. Respect myself. So respect is something that sure. we really need to work on as a core value. And then we have those foundational P's, Pastor Kotela. The foundational P's, and these P's underscore our KPAs and KPIs. Sure. And there are 5 P's. It's prayer, it is purpose, it is people, it is processes, and professionalism. Now, for some of these things, some of these P's, we are not there yet, but we speak them into existence by using present tense.
Sure.
We are prayerful. We are purposeful. We are people focused. We are process driven, and we are professional.
Sure.
So prayer is the and this is the description of prayer. Prayer is the indispensable undergirding of our KPAs and KPIs.
Sure.
Purpose is the inspiration leading our KPAs and KPIs. You wanted to say something?
No. Go ahead.
And then people.
Sure.
And you will notice that people is in the center of these 5.
Yeah.
And so people is our living brand of our KPAs and KPIs.
Sure.
Now, are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Purpose, not there yet. Pray, not there yet. But we have to speak this into existence, and it must become a lived experience, and it must inform everything that we do.
Sure.
Coming back to that accountability, where we don't see people being treated properly, we have to speak up.
Sure.
And so the people is our living brand of our KPAs and KPIs. Processes, we are embarking on a process where we're identifying all our processes in the Cape Conference and developing workflows for each one of them.
Sure.
So that nothing or very little falls through the cracks. So processes, that's the solid tracks guiding our KPAs and our KPIs. And then there's professionalism. And we can, are we there yet? Maybe not.
Sure.
But the respected, so professionalism is the respected principle design of our KPAs and KPIs.
Sure.
So those are the 5 foundational P's: prayer, purpose, people, processes, and professionalism.
And thanks for that, Pastor Arne. Perhaps, the whole purpose of having this platform, having this conversation, is to remind our people, our members, our brothers and sisters, and fellow members of the same family of God we belong to, is that this is your church. We may have been privileged to lead it, but this is your church. And I'm mentioning stressing the issue of accountability. And that means that as the leaders, we are accountable to you. And it's okay to call us to that accountability, not out of politicking, but because you love the mission, because you are invested in the mission and of the God that has saved you. We are here together, those that are in the employ of the organization and those that come to church every Sabbath. This is the mission. We are here. Help us to be more accountable. Call us, and Secretariat is there for you. And maybe this is another thing I want you to quickly reflect on, is what are some of the ways that Secretariat can support the local church? What can they reach out to us for? I know you've mentioned ACMS and but other things that they can reach out to us as Secretariat for. If you need help with this, come to us and we can lead you to the right person.
All right. Good question. Thank you. So we've mentioned the email addresses already.
Yeah.
We've mentioned ACMS. We also have service requests. We find that very often you see people from different conferences preaching in one of our churches and vice versa, and there's been no service request. When we do pardon me. So service requests are important, and when we conduct training this year, we will repeat the importance of service requests and the significance of, especially when you are calling a pastor from another district or another conference, the significance and the importance of a service request in terms of protecting the church and the person you have called.
Sure. Sure.
We also are going to do in those bite-sized chunks I mentioned, the ACMS training, but we also are going to assist our church clerks to be more effective. Effective how? Effective in minute taking, for example. As you know, minutes is those action items. Those are legal action items and must be recorded correctly and accurately as such, and because we can be held accountable if it doesn't exist. So we're going to be assisting the training with training on minute taking and meeting procedure.
Sure. Maybe I can also add, and I love, what I know you are planning for us to do going forward as the department secretariat. Some other things that you can come to us for as the church, and I notice it because it's close to me and it falls within the ambit of my work. Of course, it's the whole issue of branding, and it's amazing. Yes. It's amazing how you see, because the church has got its identity. Global identity. Sometimes you see posters and letterheads with the old three angels or you see colors that we're no longer using. And so those are some of the things that we promise as the department. We are going to walk this journey with you so that we remember the Cape Conference. Your local church is part of a global church.
I'm glad you brought that up, because sometime last year we sent a template for a letterhead.
Yeah.
To make sure that from a branding point of view, we all use the same letterhead.
Yeah.
PowerPoint presentations, for example, and I think Pastor Patella, that's something that we need to work on this year. Provide templates to the local church for PowerPoint presentations, and maybe talk about the pitfalls of the wrong branding and using branding without being authorized.
Sure.
Some of our churches get people to do things for them, and the branding, there's a problem with the branding that they use. So I'm glad you brought that up, because we must be professional even in our branding.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's so much trademarks, copyrights, and
correct. Thanks.
Yeah. That's what you're referring to. And for this, do you know we've been having it's for an hour and 15 minutes, but it looks like it's 5 minutes. There's so much to talk about. And but look, I think for me, the main purpose of this conversation was to send that principle that we don't mind you asking questions, and we don't mind you holding the church leadership to account. Truth is never threatened by investigation, and we are here for you. And these conversations are that. These conversations, they don't end here, but we are starting them. But they continue. And you can reach out to the conference telephonically, electronically. You can reach out to the conference. You can speak to your local church pastor, who is the representative of the conference where you are. If you have anything, and your local church pastor will lead you to the right door to go to. Any short thing or and shots or parting remarks.
Parting shots.
Yeah, parting shots. There you are.
Yeah,
English
no,
does that.
for me, you know, when I came into Secretariat, or coming into Secretariat, has really helped me to understand what this church is about. It's about mission.
Sure.
What this conference is about, it's about mission. And so if we can all harness our skills and energies behind the mission, God's mission. And you've earlier you've mentioned, you know, sadly, you know, the politics get muddled up, or the mission gets muddled up with politics, and so if we can keep things focused on the mission of God's church, and all of us harness our energies and our skills and our abilities and our passion to the mission of the church, I can't imagine. I can't begin to imagine what this Cape Conference will become. So we look forward to working together to accomplishing God's mission, and the accountability. You know, where you see something is not happening as we have said today, say something.
Sure.
Say something to us to hold us accountable, and we won't take exception. We will grow through that, and when we get to the end of this term, Pastor Kotela, may it be said by the constituency, we are better because we have been led by this administration.
Sure. Thank you for this, and you know, just to remind those of us that are watching, one of the meanings behind the CC platform, CC Cape Conference is me, and I am Cape Conference. This is your organization. This is your church. And thank you so much for having joined us. And Phyllis, there's no way we are going to end this without you praying for the membership, praying for mission, and praying for the church globally and the Cape Conference in particular. Over to you for this.
Thank you. Let's pray. Father in heaven, what an awesome opportunity we've had this morning just to reflect on your work. What an awesome opportunity is, God, for us to have been called to be co-laborers with you. Help us as an administration, an office staff, and back office staff. Help us to always remember this, so that we do not become distracted by sideshows. Help us to rally behind you and the mission of this church, God, so that we may passionately make this a lived experience for all of us as we engage in your mission at conference level, at local church level, in the homes. May we be passionate about mission in our homes, God. And as the drive of the global church is to reach out through mission and missionaries, we pray, God, that we will stand together shoulder to shoulder as we work together passionately to accomplish your purpose for this church. May we engage passionately in prayer. May we be purpose-driven, God. May we be people-driven and be focused on people, because that's where you are. Our processes, God, are lacking, and so help us to sharpen them up, to prepare us in our processes for this mission that we've been called to. And then you're a professional, God, and help us to also be professional in what you've been called us to do. And when all is said and done, may it be that because we are on your agenda, this conference and its constituency may say we have been led onto God's agenda, because this administration has led. This is our desire, God. Make it possible as we work with you daily, and daily it becomes real. We plead for the Holy Spirit to be with us, and our call, or you calling to us to this administration. May we make a difference. Thank you for Pastor Kotela and the initiative that is taken to make known to the constituency its leaders and what's happening within each department. And may it be, God, that there will be a clearer understanding and a greater desire to engage in whatever level we may, through our skills, our passion, our time, and may your will be done through all of this. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And amen. And my friend, thank you so much for this. And I pray and I trust that you also enjoyed this conversation.
Oh no, I must be honest, I was a little bit apprehensive.
Sure.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you for creating this platform.
Thank you for this. Thank you. Beloved brothers, sisters, thank you for having joined us, and God bless you, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.